The title is pretty self-explanatory. We're here to rank the top 10 Attack on Titan moments, chosen by me, the utmost authority on these issues. But this will also be the first in a series of 3 videos, all top 10 moments lists. First today about Attack on Titan, then in the coming days about Berserk and Vinland Saga as well. These are the 3 main series we generally talk about on this channel. The channel was built on the back of these 3 manga series, and these videos seem like no-brainers, especially when you think of those easy views. But in terms of substance, this also functions as a way for me to basically make 10 mini videos within one video and talk in a scripted format about a bunch of the greatest moments in all these series. And I also hope to use these videos as a barometer to measure how big the fan bases for these respective series are in terms of my audience. I'll see exactly how my audience divides between Attack on Titan, Berserk and Vinland Saga. I'm assuming it divides exactly in that order. Anyway, everything said in this video is true, all the placements are objective and completely inarguable, and expressly not just my opinion. Let's get into it. Number 10, Sergeant Gross gets Metatextual. I made a whole video about this scene, but most of you probably haven't seen it, so I'll briefly go over what makes this a highlight of the entire series in my opinion for you now. Attack on Titan is not exactly a metatextual minefield like something like Undertale or Doki Doki Literature Club, which seek to play with genre and medium conventions while asking questions at the audience. But Attack on Titan does have one incredibly interesting and frightening metatextual moment, and it's when Gross looks directly into the camera, pierces your soul, and explains his mindset directly to the audience. And in this ramble, while looking you directly in the eyes, you realize that Gross's motivations for doing everything he does in the narrative and his philosophy in universe is exactly the same as yours looking in. He talks about how he does all these outlandishly cruel things because it's interesting and makes for good television, for the spectacle, which is exactly why you likely got into Attack on Titan. And you realizing you're no different from this maniacal, murderous lunatic if you look at it from a certain perspective is terrifying. And it makes you think about your culpability in the destruction of the lives of these characters. It's a great realization and subsequent self-reflection, and as someone like me who loves fucking with the fourth wall, this was all right up my alley. Again, I made a whole video about this moment specifically, so if you want more discussion surrounding this particular moment, check out that video. I'm sure it's linked in the description. Isayama can in fact do it all. He can even get metatextual every once in a while and subsequently create one of his best moments. Number 9, Historia makes her choice. Historia is a great character and deserves some representation on this list, and this is her best moment. Historia is given a choice in the climax of the Uprising arc to do what her father wants or to do what she wants. And with the words of Ymir in her heart, she says fuck that old man and fuck saving the world, and it's brilliant. This is a massive character moment for Historia, because she created a fake persona in order to try and come across as a hero. She always wanted to be helpful to other people and be depended on, because it made her feel like she had worth, and this moment is basically her rejecting all that little girl bullshit, and deciding that fuck them, I'm going to do what I want, as she slams her father with a monumental power slam that makes the Mark and me shiver. The kinetic energy in this slam and her expression in this particular panel are ingrained into my mind. She throws away everything she once wanted when she does this. If she had simply obeyed her father, not only would she be loved by her father, but she'd get everything she ever wanted, to be loved, to be respected, to be needed, to be important. But then she remembers the one person that loved her, respected her, needed her, and thought she was important when Historia was being herself and it wasn't convenient for her, Ymir, and remembers that she promised Ymir to live selfishly on the snowy peak and to be true to herself, and throw away others' expectations of her. And all this subtext is packed into this slam in the following outburst, where she claims to not at all care about anybody else, takes charge of the situation, punches Erwin in the head, calling her future baby daddy a cuck pussy, and tells him to man the fuck up and get out of this mess. That's why Erwin probably loves her, and that's conveniently why we also love her as well. And for making this right decision, the narrative rewards Historia by giving her all those things: respect, importance, love, and to be needed when she eventually becomes queen. She gets everything she ever originally wanted as Crystal Lens, and everything she ever wanted as Historia Race when she becomes queen, which all leads from this moment. The Uprising arc was Historia's biggest arc, and everything that happens in it is the reason you love Historia as much as you do. And this moment, I think, embodies this great character arc and had to be on the list. Number 8, Annie revealed as the female Titan. If you've seen my Attack on Titan arc ranking video, you'll know that after the female Titan arc, I think Attack on Titan never looked back. And to encapsulate what's great about the female Titan arc, this is the moment I had to pick. The impact of this moment has reverberations forever throughout the series. Now the mindless Titan threat seemingly had a figurehead, we had a villain with personality, and it was much better. The introduction of the female Titan, especially in episode 17 of the anime as well as its manga counterpart, is spectacular in cool factor and threat level, but I opted to go with this reveal for the list. The reveal itself of Annie being the female Titan isn't shocking, and it's a testament to Isayama that it works so well despite that. The way Attack on Titan handles these big mystery reveals is very unique. Instead of the big climactic moment being the reveal itself, the climactic and most interesting element of any given reveal in the series is the implications from the reveal. The emotion in this scene isn't holy shit, Annie is the female Titan, as I think most people realized immediately that she was the Titan, since she was the one blonde girl that didn't go with the scouts. But the emotion in the scene is more, why would somebody do this? Annie has betrayed us, and does this mean that there are more shifters around? But despite the reveal being obvious, as the chapter itself even opts to make it blatantly obvious right before it's revealed, the moment is still monumental in impact, as she laughs and cackles before seemingly going crazy and shows her cunning when she's cornered but prepared for the situation anyway and transforms with her ring. Annie was not a major character before this reveal and didn't have much characterization, but the reveal here and how she acts when she's caught gives a dense amount of characterization in only a few actions, and couple that with her desperate flashback / attempted escape in the climax of her fight with Erwin, and she quietly becomes one of the most popular characters in the entire series. And of course the added context after the fact and the recontextualization of this moment after you understand what personally led up to this moment with Annie only makes this moment retroactively even better. The crazy laugh wasn't maniacal, it was desperate, it turns out. She was relieved and overwhelmed that she didn't need to keep up the act anymore, and she loses it when she gets caught in a lie because that's just something that most people do. And the situation is funny in a tragic way, because it's entirely understandable what she is doing here, as she isn't really the villain, but she knows it would take far too long to justify this to any of her would-be friends. And so she's stuck, and in the desperation she laughs. The theme of perspective is everywhere in Attack on Titan, and it's one of the series' strongest elements. Annie is retroactively entirely understandable and very sympathetic here, but you wouldn't think so at first. This reveal is one of the best in Attack on Titan, but there's at least one that I think tops it. Number 7, Erwin's suicide charge. The sheer kinetic energy of this moment is astounding. Everyone loves this moment. In fact, some of you might be mad it's only number 7, but everything that I placed after it I think is a little better. I'm incorporating Erwin's final talk with Levi, his speech to the scouts, and the suicide charge all into one placement here, because without each other they are all meaningless. This is the climax of Erwin's character arc while also being his last character moment, and it is special. Erwin has always been an effective leader with clever tactics and new ideas, but it's revealed in the Uprising arc that Erwin isn't motivated by saving humanity or the common good, but that he is selfishly motivated. This is revealed in a scene with Zackley where the two bond over their shared selfishness. Erwin's own motivation is to prove the theories his father died for correct. It's his way of doing right by the man whose death he was responsible for, and this is a powerful ambition inside Erwin. This is what motivated him to lead a revolution within the walls and to throw out a corrupt government. Not because it was the right thing to do, but because they stood in the way of him achieving his ambition. Erwin lost friends, he was tortured by the military police in a dungeon, he had an arm eaten off by a titan, he convinces graduates to constantly sacrifice their lives under the guise of it being for humanity, but in reality it being for his personal ambition. Erwin stays steadfast in this being the purpose for his existence until one climactic moment, when he utilizes all his skills as commander to sacrifice his ambition for humanity this time. When he charges at the Beast Titan in an all-encompassing, climactic and passionate final stand. Erwin finally, realizing that if he sacrifices himself, the scouts will win their biggest victory ever in Shinganshina, decides that he will leave behind his ambition for the betterment of humanity, forever redeeming him. And the beauty of this scene is that it's the climax of Erwin's character arc and his ultimate redemption for all the evil he's caused, coupled with an incredibly just hype moment. From the speech where Erwin is convincing the troops but more himself to charge at the Beast Titan, to the actual charge itself, to the final line before the rocks smash him, it's the coupling of these narrative and action moments and how well they intertwine that make Attack on Titan as good as it is and make this moment as good as it is. Erwin finally does the right thing and lives up to his false words, redeeming himself before he dies, giving Levi the opening he needed to take down the Beast Titan, and for the scouts to eventually triumph in Shinganshina. It's nearly perfect. If I ever gave a fuck about Erwin, maybe this would be higher on the list. Number 6, Kenny Ackerman dies. I've also talked about this moment in other videos before, but for this list to be in any way legitimate, the final conversation between Kenny and Levi and Kenny's subsequent death needs representation on the list. Levi was under the assumption that Kenny was his father his entire life, and the realization in the audience and in Kenny that that's indeed what he thought the entire time is peak hilarity and melancholy and peak Attack on Titan. I love it so much, and the vulnerable Levi as Kenny slams the syringe into his chest is beautiful. Just everything here works so perfectly. I've been very vocal about Levi easily being the best written character and from his conceit the most interesting character in Attack on Titan, and the subtlety in this moment is the embodiment of why. Dude, he thought Kenny was his father the entire time. And from his perspective, it makes perfect sense. Some man, familiar with his mother, shows up as she dies and takes Levi in for whatever reason, only to break his heart and walk away as Kenny grew more frightened, as he got more attached to the kid. Oh, it breaks your heart. It's so perfect, it's so melancholic. I couldn't be some kid's dad? What a line! Kenny laughing it off at the end and Levi realizing that it's probably better that Kenny was his uncle, meaning that he never used his mother and that his love for her was for something else rather than her body only adds another layer to the dynamic here. Then Kenny does the unselfish thing and gives Levi the Titan serum and shows that even though he's a total mass murderer and basically a deadbeat dad, he's still a good man deep down. Oh, it's just so perfect. I love Kenny Ackerman as a character in Attack on Titan. I'd say gone too soon if I was a hack and didn't understand that him dying here was imperative to him being a great character, but Jesus Christ, he's just gone too soon. Also, this ends Levi's character arc from the Uprising arc, his arc, in such an appropriate emotional way. And shout out to the final panel of the arc where Levi thanks his friends right after having this heart-to-heart with Kenny, ignoring that Historia just punched him. So good. Number 5, Levi destroys the Beast Titan. What do you even say about this moment? It's perhaps the greatest subversion I've ever seen in fiction. You were so sure Levi wasn't gonna do it. Attack on Titan as a series had set your expectation perfectly that Levi had no chance, and that this would be too easy of a win if he were to succeed, only for Isayama to take advantage of that expectation and yank us all in a direction we couldn't fathom, and Levi destroys Zeke in a matter of seconds. I described this moment in my Levi video as the ultimate validation of the audience, and I entirely stand by that. Any other series would fuck you in this moment, but Isayama refused to sacrifice Levi to the Beast Titan here and stood his ground and quadrupled down on the conceit of Levi's character being that he's the most destructive fighting force in the world and that he never loses in combat. It's just so perfect and I love it so much. And this moment makes him undeniably the best character and the most interesting character inherently in Attack on Titan. I don't want to hear otherwise. It's such a clever trick from Isayama's perspective and I will always respect him for this moment. Shove your soul talking points about Reiner and Erwin being the best characters up your ass. Levi is so much better than both of them, it's not even funny. Wake up, people. And don't get me started on these Zeke cucks. I'm looking at you, Andrew. Anyway, couple the masterful subversion again with outstanding action and monumental hype levels, and you get the 5th best moment in Attack on Titan history. Number 4, Willy Tybur's speech and death. No one understood, neither in the world of Attack on Titan or in our world, how important this moment was at the time. But looking back, this might be the single most important moment in Attack on Titan history. Whatever the implications are of our eventual ending, it'll all be because of this moment, and everything that happens after this moment is a byproduct of this moment. But besides being plot important, because that isn't really a reason to like something or for something to be good, the tension and culmination of this moment is awe-inspiring. This is the climax of Willy Tybur as a character. He sought through this speech to overcome his self-hatred. Willy knew there was always a likely chance he would die at this event in Liberia, and with the conversation he had with Megarth earlier that day, it was almost guaranteed that Willy was sacrificing his life with this play here. But Willy hated himself and his ancestors so much that he thought it was the price they owed to the world. Don't forget, he also brought his entire family to the event knowing that they would likely die too. Self-hatred is a major theme in Attack on Titan, usually regarding Zeke, but Willy outs his family's positive legacy and his literal family here, seeking to cleanse them of their ancestors' sins by dying and mobilizing everybody against Paradis, to hopefully end this conflict once and for all. And because of Erwin, it works. Willy gets what he wants in all regards, and it's awesome that Isayama juxtaposes death with victory for Willy Tybur here. But just in terms of characterization for Willy, when you reread this moment, knowing he knows he's going to die, the expressions on his face and his trepidation before the climax of his speech are all perfect. But this moment goes hand in hand with Reiner and Eren's reunion in the basement, which has quickly become an iconic moment in the series that everybody loves. The audience had been clamoring all throughout the Marley arc to see our old characters again and to see them post-time skip. And this was the blow-off to that build. Eren demonstrates in this conversation just how much the 4 years we missed has affected all of our characters, as he looks and acts completely different here. This is also where the twist of Eren becoming the final villain becomes noticeable, which might be Isayama's greatest twist, and the scouts showing up and destroying the new environment we've grown accustomed to only adds to the intentional thematic confusion here. And this clusterfuck of not knowing who to root for and learning that all this was just a battle of perspective is what makes Attack on Titan post-time skip indefinitely better than the baby bullshit we were dealing with pre-time skip. I don't think most people understand, at least personally for me, how big I think the quality difference is between pre-time skip Attack on Titan and post-time skip Attack on Titan, and this moment is the catalyst for that opinion. This series matured in a way and earned the credibility needed to apply itself properly to its theme, and this moment in the climactic speech from Willy Tybur that ends with Eren mercilessly assassinating him is the personification of that difference in quality, and Attack on Titan never looked back. Number 3, Bertolt and Reiner revealed as the Armoured and Colossal Titans. This is Isayama's quintessential writing moment. The big reveal being in the background and subverting the idea of reveals, which still ends up being one of the biggest and most epic reveals in manga history, is the personification of Isayama's unique writing style to me. Attack on Titan has always been a series about mysteries. It's what originally connected me to the series. I wanted to know where the Titans came from and how the walls got there, but eventually, one of the most fun elements of Attack on Titan became the mystery surrounding the identity of the other Titan shifters, and this moment was the biggest reveal regarding that element of the narrative. Never again would a Titan shifter's identity be this big of a reveal, with this substantial of a build-up. But I think this moment is quintessential Isayama because it demonstrates what makes him such a good writer through little ironies. Key example in this moment being that the well-built-up mystery element is paid off by intentionally being undercut as the reveal happens casually in the background. But even further, the reveal that Eren and the scouts were already onto Reiner and Bertolt adds to the subversion of the reveal here. As we went over with the Annie reveal earlier, Attack on Titan's reveals aren't always shocking, and they aren't designed to be. Isayama loves fucking with expectations for what reveals should be. He'll tell you the answer, then make it meaningful, because this isn't your average story. Even though it's revealed so casually in the background, this moment in the identity of the Armoured and Colossal Titans gives you one of the most hype moments in the series, when they decide to take action. You'd expect these dastardly mass murderers to be more confident and intelligent, but they are just scared kids. Again, this isn't your average story and these aren't your final villains. It's subversive, but it still hits with the emotion, because it isn't the reveal that's important. The reveal doesn't have to be shocking, it's the ramifications of the reveal that are everlasting that makes a reveal great. And if you couldn't tell, this moment is great. And I don't often do this, but shout out to the anime for doing this moment nearly perfect justice. I'm not the biggest fan of the Attack on Titan anime, but Season 2 Episode 6 is probably its best episode. There's just so many twists here. Before you even get Eren screaming at them for being traitors, the initial reveal, the reveal that the scouts were onto them the whole time, Reiner and Bertolt deciding to act, Mikasa trying to strike while she has the opportunity, them bumbling into a transformation, Eren reflecting on the good times before taking action. It's just beat after beat of payoff and big character moments, and the adrenaline of this moment is through the roof. And of course, as with everything in Attack on Titan, it is made better in retrospect as we later find out the sympathetic motivations for these two lost boys in a foreign land, on orders from powers they couldn't possibly understand, and the tragedy around Reiner's mental state and everything surrounding that. You don't need any further explanation, you've seen it. You know how great this moment is, you're probably mad it's only number 3 on the list, and trust me, you're only gonna get madder. Number 2, Gabi tries to save the world. I've never had a more exciting, visceral reaction to anything in a manga. The Casca stuff was probably more visceral, but this was happy visceral, so I reflect on this far more positively. Back when this was a relevant debate in this community, loved Gabi when not everybody did. And this moment was spectacular, not just for the validation, but because of the rush of adrenaline I got when I saw this panel originally. This was back when I did chapter reaction videos, so some of you probably remember and saw the moment I saw Gabi decapitate Eren. And for the few brief seconds I believed Isayama had killed Eren off, Attack on Titan had surpassed Berserk. Moments later, even in that reaction video, I realized there was a 0% chance Eren was dead and calmed down. But those moments, and the way Isayama made me feel briefly, is something I'll cherish forever and never forget. It's really those moments of absolute investment and absolute disbelief at how something could be this good that we read, watch, listen to, and consume art for. I know that if any of the picks on this list are going to be controversial, it'll be this one, because most of you are babies. But to me, that single moment of reading the chapter and being overcome with emotion is something nothing else in the series has been able to evoke in me. So I must put this moment this high on the list. But even outside of my personal reaction, the desperation in Gabi's eyes as she doesn't fully understand what's going on or what she's doing, and the commitment despite this that she has, as it seems like her world is ending, is magnificent and emotional payoff. This moment is forever etched in my mind, and it took something truly special to knock this moment off its pedestal. It was the best fake-out twist I've ever seen. A young girl was just trying to save the world, and you guys hated her for it. Shame on you. Hopefully she'll get another opportunity in the future to finish the job on that dastardly cuck. Gabi did nothing wrong. Number 1, Ymir's Backstory. This is the most abstract thing Isayama has ever done. It's also my favourite thing that he's ever done. Attack on Titan chapter 122 is the best chapter in Attack on Titan and probably my favourite singular chapter in manga history, since all of the big Berserk moments happen over multiple chapters. I love the ambiguity, I love the aftermath, I love the aesthetic, I love Ymir, I love the way Eren manipulates her perfectly at the end, as Zeke says all the wrong things. I love that Ymir gives up after 1,000 years and just says fuck it. I love everything about everything that happens in this chapter, and when making this list I knew that if anything could surpass the sheer emotional reaction I had to Gabi decapitating Eren, it was this moment, and nothing else could even come close. But I want to go further into why I love this scene, this moment, this chapter so much, since it seems I like it for different reasons most people do. A core theme of Attack on Titan is that everybody is a mixture of morality. Everyone has done good things and bad things. This is evident in all of our characters. Reiner wants to save the world but ends up being responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. Eren fights on behalf of the people he wants to protect seemingly, but seeks to slaughter billions of others. Gabi understands the woes of her enemies and seeks to mend the rift now, but also killed Sasha in her journey to get there. But Ymir had been so selfless her entire life, as demonstrated in chapter 122, so she seemed godlike as she sacrificed herself and her well-being for the sins of others. She wasn't like everybody else. Ymir willingly took the blame for setting the pigs free even though she probably didn't do it, just to protect the person that did. She refuses to take revenge on the man who tried to kill her as punishment for that crime, when given the power and the opportunity to do so, and even later jumps in front of a spear for that man as well. There's even quite strong implications of rape, but she's a saint who never thinks about or prioritizes herself. Frida and assumingly all the other founding titans that inherited the will of the first king of the walls believed in her because of this reason. Frida even tells young Historia to emulate Ymir's selflessness from these stories. Again, it's something godlike to never do anything selfish or act out in revenge. She wasn't susceptible to the cycle of hatred that has swallowed most of our main characters at some point. She never hated anybody. But in the world of Attack on Titan, even supposed gods aren't infallible. Because when Eren makes a manipulatively sympathetic plea to Ymir to throw it all away and indulge in her humanity for once, and take her revenge on the world, she finally succumbs. She finally hates. She is just as bad and just as human as everybody else in the moment where she just says, fuck it, let them all burn, and gives Eren the power to use the rumbling. And the way this is all set off and paid off in a single, nearly self-contained, nearly silent chapter is amazing. The abstract way of telling this story and the ambiguity and all the reveals that don't matter, like where the Titans and the Titan Shifters originally came from, is fantastic and unique. Even to this series. Zeke yells at Ymir to continue obeying and to continue to suffer for others after thousands of years, whereas Eren is the first one ever to try and relate to her and ask what she wants, and he wins. And they both together come to possibly the most despicable conclusion. But could you blame her for taking this path, after all we've seen she's gone through, after keeping that act up for thousands of years? She has one selfish moment here, and the panel that expresses thousands of years of pent-up anger and sadness is palpable in execution, and one of the best panels in the entire series. It's the first time in the entire chapter, and maybe the only time we will ever see pure emotion on Ymir's face. And Jesus, was it worth the build-up. She was never a god, and we were foolish to ever expect her to be, as we were foolish to ever think there was a god in the Attack on Titan world. The audience expected a godlike character and got a scared little girl, who's been fucked over by this cruel world, and it was perfect. She tried to do good no matter what, but even eventually she buckled under the pressure and joined the ranks of all the other characters who have done great and terrible things in Attack on Titan. She tried to save the world and couldn't take it anymore, so she decided to destroy it, thinking that it will never change. And the fantastic characterization in this moment for a character that will likely never be seen again, and was rarely ever seen before, is a wonder to behold. Everyone after reading this was emotionally attached to this girl's struggle and want to do good, and related to her 1,000-year-long frustrations. Plus the unique stylization of this chapter with the extremely downplayed dialogue that lets the art and the aesthetic tell the story is masterful. Anyone who still says Isayama is a bad illustrator would have to be a moron. Like I said at the beginning, this is the most abstract thing Isayama has ever done, and if you know anything about me, I love weird abstract bullshit, and this is the closest Attack on Titan has ever been to peak abstract bullshit. I mean, what else could have been number one on the list? Some shitty fight? Who cares? This may be the most abstract thing in Attack on Titan, but it's the most Attack on Titan thing I think Isayama has done as well. Fuck you. And that concludes the list. I'm sure you're already disagreeing in the comments section below. I've got a Patreon, so there's that if you care. Also follow me on Twitter and Twitch for more content. Look forward to Berserk and Vinland Saga versions of this list in the coming days. Support links in the description below. Thanks.